I lost all my investments. I lost everything. I was broke for 7 years. I could hardly pay my children's school fees. In fact, I borrowed from all my friends. I called all my friends. They were helping me initially. After some time, they stopped taking my phone calls. Maybe somebody has passed through what I have passed through, or maybe somebody is at the midst of it. And then you need to hear this to be encouraged. And so I lost everything. I sold everything I had, sold my car, sold everything, fired house girls, fired everybody. It was me and my wife, and we couldn't pay our children's school fees. We were negotiating with the school to pay children's school fees. Things were very bad, not for a year, but for 7 years. I did not buy one clothes, one item, one shoe for myself or my wife for 7 years. And don't forget, this was a man who was an executive director of a bank, who thought he has made good investments with his salaries and everything, but everything collapsed. So within that 7 years, I became a teacher. I was teaching bankers all over Nigeria and some parts of Africa. Teaching has always been my passion. So I started begging banks to give me teaching. I went to some of my friends who were in teaching. They helped me to connect to some banks here and there. I was teaching and everything. Some of them wouldn't even want to hear me because they say, you worked in a bank and they fired you. You know, I wasn't sacked, but the bank collapsed. And but they say, if you know banking, why will you be teaching us? Why would we, if you know enough, why did your bank go down? But it's another lesson for another day. But I'm telling you, if you keep your hands clean, God will give you a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. Because my hands were clean, extremely clean, I relied on my salaries. When Central Bank, who took over the bank, investigated me home and abroad, they found out that my hands were clean. The governor of Central Bank wrote me a letter and said, we have found that your records in the bank are excellent. We have investigated you, and I hereby congratulate you for your good records, signed by the governor of Central Bank. And he said to me, anytime you get a job in another bank, you are free to work there. That letter is still in my house, signed in red ink by the governor of Central Bank. I was broke, but I had that letter. And so when I were broke, I will show my children the letter. I said, well, your daddy has character, but he doesn't have money. I said, one day, God will translate this good character into money. And we kept, so all the struggle and the pain for those 7 years made me to keep a diary on how I was able to cope. Believe you me, when things changed, that diary became a book called Financial Freedom that Pastor Bola just spoke about. That book has sold over 11,000, and it was launched only about 4 months ago. And people are buying it all over the world. But it came out of pain. When you have pain, get ready to be able to learn lessons from your pain. I thank God that I learned from my pain. So please, if you have not passed through pain, then you may not be able to learn. But I don't want you to pass through the pain I passed through. That's why I wrote the book, so that people will learn from my own mistakes, because I made mistakes, financial mistakes, and that definitely, by the grace of God, not moral or mistakes, but financial mistakes. And I wanted you to learn from my own mistakes so that you don't repeat the mistakes. So that's why my diary became a book. And thank God, God has a reason why he passed through me that, and that's what the world is now benefiting from. Whatever pain you are passing through, don't throw it away. Maybe God wants to use it to bless others. So now, the approach I'm going to use as I share with you is actually the approach of getting you upset. I want to get you upset. Because I was upset, I got angry for 7 years. I was in pain. Because I was in pain, it challenged me to think, to throw away everything I learned in Harvard Business School and Stanford, everything I learned, everything I thought I knew, to begin to ask God, what are the mistakes that I made? So when I combine my technical, professional knowledge with the knowledge that God has given me as a child of God, it made me to be able to become smarter a little. And I want it to become smarter. So my approach to you is to actually get you upset today. If this lecture doesn't upset you, I will not have achieved my objective. Because if it gets you angry, you can do something. If you are very comfortable, you will do nothing. And so I want to unsettle you. I want you to get out of your comfort zone. I want to get you upset. And I want you, when you get upset, don't just get upset, but do something after getting upset. And I want to also caution that what I'm sharing is not corporate finance, because what we learned in school is corporate finance, where we learn about that's what we all studied. But I don't know of any university that's offering a degree in personal finance, because many of us think we know about money. And even universities don't teach about it. Parents don't even teach their children how to manage money. Your parents assume that you know about money. You yourself grew up and assume that you know about money, because you see money, you go and buy things, buy Coca-Cola, and you buy food, and you say, oh, Mo, yeah, I have money, I don't have money. Nobody teaches about personal finance. And that's why many people run into mistakes, because they don't know how money works on a personal level. People know about it at a corporate level. People have PhD in corporate finance. Yeah, but unfortunately, what you don't know will hurt you. I emphasize, what you don't know will hurt you. And you can't do more than what you know. So I encourage you to go seeking for knowledge and listen as we share what may appear to be mundane or rudimentary. But believe you me, it's born out of several experiences, personal, financial, whatever, technical, and of course, most importantly, divine, and then practical experiences. Because they are very practical, and anybody can follow what I'm saying. So I brought it down to a level where if you're a lawyer, you're an engineer, you can actually follow me. And that's why people love this book, because it's written for everybody. So I'm basically trying to teach what is in the book, plus several other things that I couldn't write in the book, because the book is a secular book. But I'm going to teach both secular and spiritual, to what I couldn't write in the secular book, because I'm writing to the world. Now, I want to share with you what I call the source of personal income. Personal income has a source, but many people don't know that their personal income is actually a unit of the global or macro income. That's what you call macroeconomics. Now, I don't want to bore those of you who are not finance people with that, but just generally speaking, there's something, the global macroeconomics is the economics of a nation, of a state, of the world, and in that macroeconomics, you will hear about things like inflation. You may not know what it means if you're not a finance person, but when you go to the market and the price of what you are going to buy, has what you bought last week, the price has gone up, and the same product, same quantity, it tells you that inflation is happening. Interest rates, capital market, foreign exchange market, money market, the gross domestic product, which is the combination of everything the nation produces. Employment levels, whether it's underemployment, monetary and fiscal policy, all this are what we refer to as macroeconomics. I have taught it to senior bankers over the years, when I didn't have a job for 7 years. But the truth is that you may say, Pastor, how does this affect me? All these things affect you. All of them affect you. So you need to know them. And very painfully, many of us don't know them. And because they will ultimately affect you as a person. So if something goes wrong at the macro level, it will ultimately affect you at the personal level. And so try and get the knowledge. I'm encouraging those of you who are not finance people to please go search for economic knowledge, because I just gave you a broad spectrum of what I think you should know. If you know how they work, for example, if you know about the capital markets, for instance, you are not going to have problem when you want to invest in the stock markets. You won't be investing wrongly if you have an idea of how it works. In my book, I explained it. If you know about the money market, you'll be able to know how to invest your money, savings, or place money in the market, interbank market and stuff like that. What you know, if you know about the gross domestic product or employment, you will know how these things will affect you. Those are things you need to know to be able to help you to make. So, but search for knowledge. Today is not for that teaching. Today is not for that day. Today is a day where we'll just give you an idea that you need to search for this knowledge, because they will ultimately affect your personal account, your personal service. You need that. You need to search for that macroeconomic level knowledge. Now, what do you call financial freedom? Now that you know that what happens at the macroeconomy will ultimately affect you. If Nigeria's GDP is going down, it will affect you. We got news yesterday that the GDP we are going into recession. It will ultimately affect you. It will ultimately affect you. Okay? So try and get that macroeconomic knowledge so that you will know how to make your decision. If you can't get that knowledge, please rely on professionals for you to make financial decisions. For example, if you have a legal issue today, you will need to ask your lawyer for advice. You need to ask a lawyer for advice. But if you have problem with finance, many people don't ask for advice. They assume they know about money. You just go and buy shares instead of you asking a stockbroker. If you want to invest money in a bank, you don't ask bankers to advise you. If you want to be able to, so everything about money, if you want to buy property, real estate, you need to ask people who are experts in real estate, estate valuers, those who are involved in real estate development to advise you. But many of us assume we know. Shebi, I want to buy a house, I will buy a house. Shebi, I want to buy shares, I will buy shares. But you need this professional to be able to guide you. So use the professionals, and understand, have a general idea of how the macroeconomy works. So I want to go to defining now what is financial freedom. I want to define it. What is financial freedom? What is financial freedom? I want to define it. Definition. Now, financial freedom means independence. 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 What is independence? It's a simple thing. We know about political independence. Independence means you are not, if I use English, small English, it is you not being dependent on anybody to be able to do what you want to do. So the moment you have to depend on someone to do what you need to do, you are no longer financially independent. If you need to rely on someone. So we are sharing about how do you become independent? How do you stay and run your financial life without relying on somebody? Okay. And in other words, how do you meet your basic needs? Food, accommodation, health, children, education. How do you meet your needs without relying on someone? If you can meet all your basic needs, mark my words, basic needs, not not all that you want, not your wants, your basic needs, without relying on somebody or depending on somebody, then you are said to be financially independent. So I'm not teaching you how to be very wealthy because I'm not wealthy. I'm not teaching you how to be rich because I'm not rich. But by the grace of God, God has helped me to learn how to be financially independent. In other words, if you want to learn how to be rich, you need to ask Aliko Dangote to teach you how to be wealthy. I'm not Aliko, even though I worked for him for 10 years and I learned a lot from him, but I am not wealthy. I'm only teaching independence, meaning you can meet all your needs, without relying on someone, your basic needs. You can sort your life out. You have your car. If you want to own a car, if you don't want to live in your own house, you can, by the grace of God, have one, and how you can be able to pay your children's school fees and feed yourself and say, I'm grateful to God, I can meet my needs. And you pay your children's school fees when they are due and retire happily. That's what I call financial independence. You don't need to be wealthy to be able to achieve that, but it can be achieved. So, and that takes us now to the story of money. Money has destination, what I call destination points. Okay? Destination points that money is either coming to you or is leaving you or is staying with you. So either money has left you, you have spent it, you have gone to ShopRite to waste it, or the money is on the way because you have done a job and money will soon be paid to you, or you have it in a savings account or a current account. So that's the points of money, okay? And you need to be conscious of it. If money is not with you yet, it is not yet your own. It means that you did the job you are being owed. You need to do everything to get your money until it is with you. You can't say you own it. And so whatever you need to do to get paid for what you have done, it is not emotional. You need to fight for it. Go fight for it. I can tell you one thing without any fear of doubt. I worked for Aliko Dangote for 10 years. What I can tell you is that if you are owing Aliko Dangote and you don't pay him, and he's going to wake up, when you wake up in the morning, 5 a.m., he's in front of your house. And he's not going to leave until you pay him. That's the man I know. I worked for him for 10 years. And if he is owing you, whatever he needs to do, if he needs to sell his personal house to pay you, he will do that. But you can't owe him. So many of you are being owed. Your wealth is outside because people are owing you, but you don't want trouble. You are appealing. There's no appeal. There's no emotion. Don't spiritualize it. If somebody is owing you, it's a commitment, financial transaction, fight for your money. If he doesn't want to greet you, I'm telling you, after you get your money, you will pray and reconcile. He will forgive you. But get your money. Okay? Don't combine businesses with being too spiritualizing everything. There's no emotion in money. Mark my word, there's no emotion when it comes to money. Many of us are emotional about money. When you get emotional about money, you will never get money. Okay? Money is a rational decision, not an emotional issue. So don't say, I don't want to hurt anybody. Don't say, I don't want trouble. If it's your money, go and get it. And if somebody's owing you, you cannot be awake in the night when the person is sleeping and snoring. You better go and wake him up in the morning and get your money. Okay? Wake him up in the midnight and get your money. Now, so if money is on the way, your job is to go get it. If the money is already gone, then there's a problem because you have given it out. I have a friend who is a Jewish man who told me that money has common sense. He said his father told him that money has ears, he can hear. He said his father told him that if Anytime you get money, you rush to go and spend it. He said money is going to talk. If you are spending naira, it's going to talk to other currencies, euro, dollar, pounds, and say this man is a dangerous man. So please, anytime we come to his house, he will rush to supermarket. Anytime we come to his house, he will rush to go and buy ticket to travel abroad. He will rush to Dubai to go. He said that money, if it's naira, we want euro, it will $1, it will £1. I said this man is not, his house is not safe. Don't go to his house, because if you go there, he's going to take you away and throw you into Dubai. He will throw you into an expensive restaurant. Also, money hears literally, and money understands literally. So if you treat him well, money will treat you well. Money does not like to be insulted. Money has emotions. If you respect money, it will respect you. If you don't respect money, I promise you, money will insult you. And the way it will insult you is to go away. And you will be begging him to come back. So care for money. Put it inside an air conditioner. Put the AC. Let it blow on the money. Make money. Smile at money. Make money feel good. If money knows you are caring, nurturing, making him feel good, it's going to stay around and invite others. If money knows you are a dangerous man, it's going to leave you and go to those who care for him. So let's talk about money management now. How do you now manage money? To manage money, I have broken it down into about 4 categories. Now, how do you get money? How do you spend money? What's the difference between spending it and and keeping it? And what is the implication? So part A is what I call money management part A, which is on the revenue side, which is how do you bring money? How do you get money to come? How do you get money? My question to get you upset is, do you earn money? If you are unemployed, you are not earning money. If you are a student, you are not earning money. If you are just relying on your parents to give you money. But if you are earning money, then you have started. So the beginning point is, do you earn money? And I'm asking both pastors and pastors' wives, ministers and ministers, because many of us in Redeem, we have a problem. And I'm going to speak from my heart. I give this seminar all over the world. I have been speaking to people all over the world, Europe, America, since I wrote this book. But today I'm talking to pastors. So I'm going to be speaking from my heart. I'm going to tell you the truth as fellow pastors. Many of us have problems. And the problem is that we pray too much and we don't work. We pray very hard, but we don't work. God since spoken to me, said, if my people can be able to spend half of the time they use in praying to be able to work, I would have made them successful. So I tell full-time pastors, I said, if that you are a full-time pastor does not mean that your wife is a full-time pastor. Your wife is not full-time. Your wife should be able to work. And the fact that you're a full-time pastor does not mean you cannot have a poultry at the back of your house. It doesn't mean that you cannot have a small vegetable garden at the back of your house. If you are full-time, you must find a way to supplement your income if your income is not enough. And many pastors' wives, instead of helping them, they are lazy. They say, my husband is a full-time pastor. Me too, I'm a full-time pastor. I've never seen full-time pastor, full-time wife. You need to find a way to be able to augment the income of your husband. The husband also needs to find a way to ensure that what you are being paid by the mission, you supplement it with your own efforts. If you can be able to get poultry at the back of your house and have 5 chickens, you won't buy meat in the market. If you have a small goat where you are living, you won't buy goat during Christmas. You will kill the goat or you sell it. Nobody stops you from, and even in the civil service in Nigeria here, the only thing that government workers are permitted to do is agriculture. It is not illegitimate. So those of us who are working for public, I'm a public servant today. But I'm telling you, the law permits us to be able to get involved in agriculture. And it's a law of civil service. So if government permits it, the mission is not angry with it. Find something to supplement your income. I don't know of a better full-time pastor than Brother Paul in the Bible, who wrote 2 texts of the New Testament. But the Bible said he was a tent maker. The Bible said he said he was not a charge to any one of you. Even when they give him gifts, he said, I don't have need for this. But because you have given to me, my God will provide all your needs. You are blessing me because I'm Brother Paul, no problem, but I have my own business. He said, I was never a charge to any one of you. Learn to be financially independent, even if you are a full-time pastor. So my question is, are you employed or are you an employer? Your attitude will be different if you're an employee or an employer. Are you a retired person? You are a retiree with pension or a retiree without pension? Some retirees don't have pensions, and that is a problem. And it's because we'll talk about it towards the end of this talk. So but the key question I want to ask you is, do you have control over what you earn? If you don't have control over what you earn, you are a time bomb waiting to explode. If you don't have control over what you earn, you know why? It means that someone else has control over what you earn. Every employee does not have control over what they earn if they do not have secondary income. So if you're working for somebody, unfortunately, I can tell you, it is someone else that has control over what you earn, and it's your employer. And that employer can decide to bring you from 500,000 a month to zero. How does he need to do it? All he needs to do is to fire you. So you are in a potentially endangered species if you don't have control over what you earn. Your employer determines how much you earn. That's dangerous. But if you have control over what you earn, can you enlarge it? I've just given you an example of, do you have primary, do you have secondary source of income? Even if you are an employee, what are you doing to supplement your income? What is your secondary source of income? Let me tell you, as a young man, when I'm in my 50s now, as a young man when I was in my 30s, I was already traveling to America on vacation with my family. I was doing so many things I wanted to do, making some investments, and my salary could not have been able to take care of that, but I did it anyway. How did I do it? I did it because when they pay us housing allowance every January, I will use it to buy buses. I own buses in this Lagos. The fact that you are a manager of a bank does not stop you from owning a bus. I have people who are returning me money every day. I tell all these keke Marwa you see in Lagos, somebody owns them. People own them. Nothing stops you to be able to do any extra business so far you can supervise it. And when you see me collecting my money or taking the key from the bus drivers, you will not know that I'm a pastor, because I will turn my eye of a businessman. There's no emotion in business, like I told you earlier. If you don't deliver, I collect the key from you, look for another driver. So if you know you are very sympathetic, you are very emotional, you are a very good pastor, you don't get involved in business. But I'm telling you, business is different from philanthropy. You don't combine two of them. If you combine them, you will fail in business. Okay? So make sure that you have primary source of income, secondary source of income. You need it. You cannot afford to rely on one source of income. You can do a lot, very much a lot. And I will talk about it when it comes to entrepreneurship. But how do you know what you're supposed to do? But because you have to find, that's a formula to finding out what you can do as a secondary line of business or entrepreneurship. But just know that you need primary income, secondary income, and that just know one thing, that it's a dangerous thing to surrender your revenue to someone. So if you are working and you have an employer, if you don't have any other secondary source of income, you have 100% surrendered your destiny to one man, to one company. The day they fire you, you are finished. And you must never let that be. Never, never. Don't let anybody control your revenue. You must have something. Okay? And connected to this is how to build your secondary income source is that you need to empower your spouse. If you're a wife and your income is the dominant income in the family, empower your husband. If you're a husband and your income is the dominant income, then empower your wife. I'm telling you based on experience. When I lost my job, my wife fed me for 7 years. And she looked after me. She paid the school. She even paid the driver who drove me. She paid the driver. And she was taking me to restaurants that I used to take her to. And as you know, they will bring the bill to the man in the restaurants in Nigeria particularly. When they bring the bill, I will push the bill in front of her. When the waiter has gone, she will count the money in cash, put it under the table, and drop it on my hand. Then I will drop it on the table, on the box for the bills, and then I'll collect. I will tip the man. They will think I'm the one paying. It's my wife that's paying. You. If you empower your life partner, your spouse, you are empowering yourself. And women are more prudent than men. Most women are more careful. I can tell you it wasn't easy because in those days, before I spend money, she will ask me, give me an account of the one that we spent before. How did you spend that money I gave you before? Don't be offended. It is their nature. It is part of their prudence. They are configured to be prudent. So that's what I can tell you now. But moving further on that, like I told you, if someone else is next slide, if someone else, this slide, if someone else is determining how much you earn, I've just already told you the person can be able to put you to zero. And if you put you on zero, or he can reduce your salary. I once worked for a man who woke up and was reducing my salary every month. Brethren, it's not funny because when you don't have a secondary source, your employer can treat you, can do you tumbum. He can do you anything, especially when he knows you have nothing. So, and if my question is that if you are fired where you are working, do you have a fallback? And if you don't have fallback, the secondary sources I mentioned, do you actually have an asset you can sell? If you don't have an asset you can sell, you have to start today to buy and build assets. And assets are things that you can be able to realize to be able to help you. When I lost my job in 2009, the first thing I did was to sell my first house that I built when I was working in Port Harcourt. It was a small house, but it was very useful. But they paid my children's school fees for 1 year. And I was believing that after that 1 year, I would get a job. Of course, the job never came. But at least it helped me. So what asset do you have? And what is the kind of asset? Because assets have types. Do you have an appreciating asset or a depreciating asset? I will repeat. Do you have an appreciating asset or a depreciating asset? If you have an asset that is appreciating, which means it is increasing in value, or at least you will not lose value, then you are doing well. For example, when you buy land, you have an asset that has potential to appreciate. You will not lose value ordinarily. But when you buy a car, you have a depreciating asset, an asset that is losing value. In 4 years' time or 5 years, that your car will not worth less than up to 10 or 20% of the price at which you bought it. Even if you park it in your house and you never drove it. I once had a car, a very expensive car that was costing a lot of money. When I lost my job, nobody could buy it from me. Even though that car had less than 2,000 kilometers, that car was sold for less than 5% of the price. So I talk practical. So when you get involved in assets that are losing value, imagine if I use that money to be able to buy a land. There's no way I would have lost any one copper in it. And land is never far away. Don't tell me that land is somewhere after Akute or somewhere near Chagam. Your land is somewhere in Badagry. No land is far. I repeat, no land is far. Buy land. Land will always be a good store. You know why? Land never reduces in size. Land never increases in size, but it can reduce. I will explain. Land never increases in size, but it can reduce. Why population is increasing, the demand for land will increase. But the amount of land that God created is the same land since the time of Adam and Eve. Forget outside the reclamation we are doing at a Atlantic beach, land remains the same size. Check in your village. The price of land in your village now is more than what it was when your grandfather was alive. Am I correct? Ask yourself. The price of land in your village is more than what it was when your father was a young man. So can you imagine what that price of land will be when you have grandchildren? So land is not far. Land can never lose value. Because as population is increasing, the value of land will always increase. People don't know, when they were building Lagos Airport in Ikeja was a bush. Go and ask people who know Lagos. Ikeja was a bush when they were building Lagos Airport. That's why they put the airport there. They say they don't want noise. People were living at Ebute Metta and Lagos Island in Saleko. They said, put the airport because of noise of plane inside the bush. That place they call bush, Ikeja Airport, is now township. Check everywhere that people bought land 10 years ago. They have all become appreciated heavily. So be careful. Make sure you get assets that can be able to that will not lose value. But then the next question is, even if you have assets you can fall on, do you have liabilities? In other words, do you have people you are owing? That's what we call liabilities. Because if what people you are owing, if they are more than the asset you have, then you don't have anything, no. If people you are owing, what you are owing them is more than what you own, OWN, as against OWE. If what people are owing you is more than what you are owning, then you don't have anything, no. So you have to ensure that what you own is more than what you owe. In other words, you can actually buy the asset by borrowing money. The house where I'm living now, I bought it by borrowing money. One way to be able to own a property is to use the money you have to get a mortgage, get a loan, and it will force you to cut down your expenses. Because you know you must pay the bank where you borrow money for the house, for the land or house. But if you don't have that assets, that land, that house, you will be spending that money and you won't know when that money will finish. But only using money for an appreciating asset will compel you to discipline yourself financially and compel you to be able to save money. So that's what you need to know about revenue. Now, let me go to expenses. Expenses are what I call outflows. My question again to get you upset is, do you have control over your expenses? Does somebody have control over how you spend money? Do your friends, schoolmates, your husband, your wife control how you spend money? Do you know somebody can control how you spend money? And if somebody controls it, that's a problem. If you have a life partner who likes to waste money, you will have problem. You want to save, but he wants to spend. And that person will end up making two of you poor. So you need, the family needs to be able to control their expenses. So you need to control, don't let somebody, the worst thing you can do to yourself is to lose control over your expenses. Even if you lost control over your revenue, you must not lose control over the money you spend. If you lose control over your expenses, you are going to run into a problem. And part of losing control is emotional expenses, buying things because they are in vogue, trying to impress somebody, or trying to impress your schoolmates or your friends or relatives. Don't let anybody control you. I was once in a financial mess because every money that I earned every month, my relatives will come and line up to control them, to collect them. Saying this one says the brother is sick, the other one says school fees, they will collect all my money. They were constantly making me poor for almost 10 years until I met somebody who advised me. And the person told me, and I'm giving you the advice now free of charge. The person said to me, you just started work in a bank. For 10 years, you don't have anything. You don't have land, you don't have car, you're just using an official car, official towel, official handkerchief. He said, if they sack you, they will collect all these official things from you. You'll be a poor man. The person told me, don't help people now until you stand. Before you begin to help people, make sure you stand. And he gave me an illustration. He said, if you are standing by the seashore near the river and you are not standing firm, somebody is trying to drown. He said, if you want to reach out to be able to rescue that person, he said, both of you will be drawn inside the river and you will drown. But if you stand firm on the ground, then you can be able to rescue that person. So don't be in a hurry. Don't surrender your expense lifestyle to someone. You need to be disciplined enough to have control over your expenses. Revenue can be managed. Do you know that some of our parents were headmasters and headmistresses in secondary school? When we were in primary school, and they trained us up to university. Do you know why? They had control over their expenses. Check in your villages. Some of you, your parents were teachers, headmasters, catechists in the Catholic Methodist Church. They earned little money, yet they sent you to school. Why? With that little income, they were able to have control over their expenses. The greatest problem people have is inability to control their expenses. And don't let if you lose control over your expenses, you are a disaster waiting to happen. So my question is, for you to control your expenses, do you plan? Do you have a budget? This is a new year. We are now in February. Do you plan what you are going to spend money on every month, every week? Or do you just wake up and say, this one is raining, I want to buy it? Do you plan for your expenses? Do you have a budget for 2021? Your family budget on what you want to achieve, where you will spend money, how much you will spend. Is it written down? Because a budget or plan that is not written down is not a plan. It's a mere wish. And if you have written it down, do you actually monitor it every month? Do you monitor it? Do you take a look at your bank statement to know the money you have spent? What happened? What is the unusual thing that has happened? Or do you say bankers are spirits? Bankers are not spirits. I've been in banking for 34 years. We're not spirits. Bankers can make mistakes. Do you monitor or track and if you monitor and track your expenses every week or every month, when you compare your expenses with your budget, if you see adverse variance, which means that you have spent more money than you have budgeted, what corrective action have you taken to ensure that it doesn't happen next month. Do you know that if you spend more than what you planned this month, you are supposed to cut down your expenses next month for you to be able to fall in line with your budget? What have you put in place practically to be able to control your expenses? For example, do you know you are the one who can control your NEPA bill? The number of times you put air condition will determine how far your bill will be if you have an air conditioner. The number of bulbs, refrigerator, fridge, freezer you have will determine how much your bill will be. Do you put on your lights and leave the house and go out, come back in the evening, and the light is still on? In the afternoon, do you teach your children that they don't put light in the afternoon? That in the night when you go to bed, you put off your lights? Practical steps. Do you know that you are the one who controls how much you pay as school fees? Some people go to put their children in schools where they cannot afford. I made the mistake. When I was a young man, the corona was raining. I put my children in corona, and yet I couldn't afford it. If you put your children, you are the one who determines the school where they go. You know the school fees. So stop going around begging money for school fees. Hey, my children's school fees are due. Where did you put your children? You are the one who determines how much. Nobody determines that for you. The house where you are living, you are the one who determines the house rent. How? Because you are the one who chose to live in Ikoyi or Victoria Land or Ikeja GRA or K2. Where you live was determined by you. And where you will live will determine your expense. Stop blaming government. You chose the house. You chose a 3-bedroom house. Even though you are not married, you don't have a child yet, instead of 1 bedroom. You are the one who chose it. A house in Ikeja GRA is the same house. It's more expensive than a house in K2 or My 12. You chose the house. So don't blame anybody. You should be ready to bear the consequences of your decision. Plan it. Do you know, I tell people that from Victoria Land, you can go to Ikeja. But do you know that there's a helicopter pad somewhere at Ozumbambadiwe, in that near that civic center? You can go to Ikeja with helicopter. Big men use it too. You may not know. It's available almost every 1 hour. But you know what? You can go to the same Ikeja by getting an expensive Mercedes car to drive you, and you pay. You are a big man. You can go to the same Ikeja by calling an Uber and pay 10% of the cost. You can go to the same Ikeja by entering a bus. All of you will arrive Ikeja. Am I talking to somebody? So all these are your own decision. So how you will get to Ikeja from VI, you are the one who will control the expense. It's the same journey. The same thing with food. If you want to eat in Chinese restaurants, you are going to be able to spend big money. You can also go to Sangros, or you go to Oyinbo and buy what you are going to cook and cook at home and eat the same food and spend 1% of that money. So whether you are going to, it's you. The way you have to make up your mind and say, I will control my expenses because there's nobody to blame. Stop begging for what. I tell people, there was a woman in my church. She was about to go for CS. Pastor, please help me. They say I should go for CS tomorrow. I did 200,000 naira. And I said to her, this pregnancy, was it an accident? Was it an accident? You were pregnant 9 months ago. And you are telling me, Pastor, 24 hours that they say you should go for CS because my second name is Central Bank, Abi. Was pregnancy an accident? From the day you got pregnant, you are supposed to start setting aside money for that delivery. Don't go and put people under pressure because you refuse to plan. Pregnancy of 9 months was not an accident. Don't go and harass people because you refuse to plan your expenses. You refuse to plan for your life. Don't carry your recklessness, your own failure, and push it on others. You harass your pastor. You harass every big man you see in church. And you say, these people are wicked. They are not helping me. And this and that and that. The man came with Mercedes car to church. He can't even give me 200. Is the man working for you? Do you know the man's problems? Do you know how much is owing in the bank? Plan your life. Plan your life. Stop shifting your wahala to somebody. Take control of your life and plan it so that you can live happily and sleep well. Cut your coat according to the size of your clothes, not according to your size. If you can cover only where shokoto will be, let it cover your shokoto. Don't go and you can decide to go and buy expensive clothes in boutique. You can go to Yaba. When I didn't have a job for 7 years, I was going to Yaba to go and buy clothes for my children. Not for me, for my children. I couldn't even afford to buy Yaba on. Tejo show, I'm telling you. And they are very good clothes there. And you know what? Nobody will know you have clothes from Tejo show. Nobody will know. You will iron it and stash it and feel cool on it. When you have money, you can spend big money. When you are building money, learn to cut your expenses. I will repeat this sentence. When you are building wealth, cut down your expenses. And I can assure you that if you are used to cutting your expenses, even when you make money, you will still be prudent. You will not waste it. That's why billionaires don't dash people money anyhow. So learn to control your expenses. You are the one who determines it. Now, I'm moving to part C now. In part C, money, you now have to compare your income with your expenses. I have talked about revenue, how to boost your revenue. I've spoken about how to control your expenses. And the idea is push up your revenue and bring down your expenses. Now, the next thing is to compare your expenses with your income. My question to you is, are your income more than your expenses every month, every week? If you have your income more than your expenses, then you will have surplus income. Then you can invest. You cannot invest except your income is more than your expenses. So, because you have more income over and above your expenses, the surplus, it can be invested. My question is, if you want to invest, what type of investments can you make? I have given you examples of investments that you cannot make. I've given you the kind of investment you can make. For the women, one of the best investments is gold. You can never get it wrong with gold. I can tell you, I'm aware that 10 years ago, 2009, gold was going for $1,100 per gram. Today is about 1,900. Gold has never depreciated in value. It's almost double what it was 10 years ago. Gold doesn't lose value. And you can say gold in 5 minutes. If you don't know what to study, I will show you. Women know. Because when I was broke, we were selling my wife's gold. I know the place where they sell it in Tejo Show there. And I'm telling you, they will just wait for you, and within 5-10 minutes, you go with your money. That's how we were able to pay our children's school fees. My wife was selling her gold and generating her income from her own business. Gold, gold, gold. You can't get it wrong. You can't. It doesn't lose value. Land, property, can't get it wrong. Never. You can't get it wrong. So, but I will advise you, if you want to make capital in market investment like stocks, don't make what we call speculative investments. In other words, don't go and buy stock saying that, oh, if I buy this stock now, it will increase tomorrow. It may not increase. It's speculative. Foreign exchange business, speculative. It may increase, it may go down. Cryptocurrency, dangerously risky. Now, I am one of the apostles that says, forget about Bitcoins. or any form of cryptocurrency. You may be angry with me if you're already in it, but I'm telling you, until I understand how it works, until I know who is keeping the secrets, until I know the underlying asset that is backing it up, I will not. If I buy shares on the stock exchange, if I'm buying the shares of Dangote, I know he has a refinery, he has cement, it has an underlying asset, there's an underlying cash flow. In cryptocurrency, in Bitcoin, there is no underlying cash flow. It is speculation. When there's more demand, price will go up. Lower demand, price will go down. So it is speculation. I will not get involved in speculation. Maybe because I'm already in my 50s. Those of you who are in your 10 years old, maybe you can, but I don't encourage it. I don't support it. So don't get involved and look for an advisor. You know, anything I mentioned it earlier, any investment you want to make, want to get involved in land business, get an advisor who knows about land. Get property people. Don't build a house without talking to an architect, without a land, without somebody who is into building, engineer, because you can build a house, it can go down. I have seen churches that have been built and they go down because it was compromised. The church I pastored some time ago, beautiful church, it went down. Geo had to give instruction that we bring it down. It cracked up the foundation. So don't say I can build a house. Don't say I can buy shares. Ask people who are experts to advise you. Now, on the other hand, if your expenses are more than your income, then the next slide, please. If your expenses are more than your income, then that's a problem. You have a shortfall. The shortfall you have is that it means that somebody is paying for what you are spending. If what you are spending is more than what you are earning, somebody is paying for what the extra you are spending. You must have borrowed money, or you have bought some things on credit. And if you have debt, therefore, how long have you been in debt? How many years? What kind of loan is that? Debt is that? Is it a normal, what we call structured debt? In other words, you went to a bank, they borrow, they give you an offer letter and everything. You submitted some securities. Or is this just a salary advance or credit card? Which, and my question is, I'm not against borrowing. My job is I've been lending money all my life, even though I don't owe anybody and I don't want to borrow. If I borrow, I cannot sleep in the night. Except I know where I can see where the money has gone to. Like what I told you, I borrowed to buy a house. I can see the house. So in case there's problem, I will say, take your house so I can sleep well. So the question is the debt you have choking you? Are you in debt bondage? Do you want to come out of debt bondage? If you want to come out of debt bondage, you will need advisors to come out. If you continue to do what puts you in debt, I promise you will continue to be in debt. Something has to change. And so you need to come out. But you need to get advice on how to come out. Now, as we continue, there are what I call in my book 21 express ways to financial mess. In other words, the mistakes we all make that put us in financial mess. Okay? You will find that in my book, those who have read the book, but the summary of it all is about financial discipline. That's the summary of it all. Don't let your revenue be less than your expenses. But there are all kinds of things that can put us. I have mentioned one of them when I was talking about impulse buying. You wake up and buy something you did not plan for. It's one of them. There are several. But one of them, you need to pick up my book and be able to get all of them and find out where you are getting. You may be getting 1 or 5. You need to change. Now, going to how do you exit bondage? I mentioned it before. If you're already in debt, how do you exit debt? First question is, how did I get here? What was I doing? Can I reverse some things that I did that put me in mess? There is something you did wrongly that put you in financial mess. It's either you didn't do what I said about boosting your revenue, or you lost control over your expenses, or you did not even care to compare your expenses with your revenue. You just kept spending money. And I hope you know that there are people like that who say, my salary is 100K, so I will spend 95K. I will spend 99K. That is not financial wisdom. You know why? Because you don't have control over your salary. The day they take away the job from you, you are done. You are finished. So that's why you must control both the revenue and the expenses and be in charge. I mean, you being in charge, not somebody else. Don't surrender control over your personal money, over your personal finance to somebody. It's called personal finance. It is not corporate finance. Don't lose control. So if you want to clear out of debt, what can I do? How quickly can I come out? How can I help myself out of this situation? Again, how you need to come out will depend on you reversing some of the steps, actions you have taken. If you don't reverse, then you will be where you are. So you need to sit down to reverse some things you have done that put you there in the first place. You have to sit down and ask yourself, what have I done wrong? Now, as we try to round up, how do you build wealth? How do you build personal wealth? And how do you sustain wealth? There are principles on how to build wealth. In my book, Financial Freedom, I listed there 10 C's, what I call 10 C's of building wealth. I will just briefly talk about only 3 of them. One of them is character. Character is everything. Character is you. Character is you when nobody is looking. Character is all about you. Your integrity, your honesty, everything about you. Holiness, that's character. Believe you me, I have a formula I used to teach young people about how to be successful in life. And that formula is HHH, 3 H's. First H, holiness, hard work, and humility. If you have these 3, God will create a space at the top for you. If you have humility, holiness, and hard work, God will create a space for you. You need it. It's indispensable. Stop telling me that there's no vacancy at the top. God will create a vacancy for you if there's no vacancy anywhere. Pastor, what are you talking about? Go and ask Joseph when you see him. There was nobody called prime minister in Egypt before Joseph. And that office, the Bible did not record there was another prime minister after Joseph. But when Joseph met the requirements of character, of hard work, of humility, God compelled Pharaoh to create an office that never existed. There's a vacancy at the top, but God will create it when you meet the requirements. Forget about what you are seeing now. God can enlarge that pyramid and incorporate you if you meet the requirements. So make sure you understand that character is commitment is one of them, which is really what I call hard work in my HHH. Okay, commitment, be committed, be diligent. Like I said before at the beginning, we pastors and Christians, we have been teaching people wrong things. We have been teaching them pray, fast, pray. There's no place the Bible said that when you fast, you will become rich. Fasting will never make you rich. Prayer will not make you rich. Even when the Bible talks in this book of Jeremiah that God is the one who teaches you how to make wealth, He will teach you. Wealth has to be made. We all know Proverbs 22 verse 29. He that is diligent in his work. If you are diligent, you will be found among princes, among kings, among royalty. Diligence is what we miss in Christianity. Hard work. We are so many lazy Christians. It gets me angry. There are so many lazy Christians who are praying and fasting to become rich, praying for God to pay their school fees. If you pray and somebody opens your window and they drop money there, 10 million naira, run away. It's not your money. That's not how God gives money. God gives money through hard work. God gives money through hard work. God gives money through hard work. I said it 3 times. Go and read Psalm 1. Read up to verse 3. Psalm 1. You know the scripture. You are all pastors. Go and read Psalm 1. Towards the end, He said, after saying how God will bless those who are not found in the counsel of the ungodly, towards the end, verse 3, he said, whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Money, only whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. What you do is what God will prosper. God will not prosper what you are not doing. You know, I said I'm going to get you angry, and I hope you're getting angry. Go and read Deuteronomy 28, verse 12. Deuteronomy 28, verse 12. We are all pastors. Good. We all quote the scripture there, and we say, hey, the word of God says, I will be the head only. I will not be beneath. I will be not be beneath. Hey, I will be above only, not beneath. I will be a lender to many nations, and I will not be a borrower. I agree. It's in that Deuteronomy 28, verse 12. But read that thing very well. Read that same verse. Read it very well. That same verse 12. Deuteronomy 28. It says there that God will bless the work of his hands. That God will bless the work of his hands. It is what you do that God will bless. If you have zero, God, 0 times 1 billion is 0. What blessing means, God will cause it to increase and multiply. If you have no job, no business, no nothing, you have nothing. You are trying to make God a liar when you ask God to bless you, and God cannot be a liar. Everyone that God used in the Bible, God took them from where they were working. Go and read. He called Matthew tax collector where he was working for Inland Revenue. He called brother Peter, Simon Peter, my namesake. Go and read it. You know, go and read John 5, 1 to 10. He called him where he was doing his fishing business. Say, you will no longer be a fisher of fish, you'll be a fisher of men. So you need to find business you are doing. Then God will bless you. If you have no business you are doing, you have no right to ask God to bless you. Find business and be diligent, committed, hardworking in that business. Give it all it wants. Don't be sleeping in the afternoon. Don't be sleeping up watching movies by 11 o'clock or by 12, Nollywood, and you are saying that you are working very hard. God will never make you rich if you watch Nollywood by 12 o'clock. Never. I hope I'm getting you angry enough, because my job is to get you angry so that you can wake up from your slumber. Stop making God a liar. God cannot be a liar. And I want to conclude that very chapter on building. I've spoken about character, capacity, commitment, okay? And I now want to let you know, in what I didn't put in that my book is, I wrote only 10 C's, but that's for children of God is 10C plus X. The conditions for building wealth, 10C plus X, where X is what I call kingdom investments. I'm talking to God's children now, kingdom investments. I tell people, when you give your offering, you are the elementary level, primary school in kingdom. When you pay your tithe, you have now entered secondary school. But when you begin kingdom investments, you have entered university. If you want to get your degree and be able to get wealth as a graduate with God, you need to make kingdom investments. You have to go beyond tithes and offerings. Pastor, what is kingdom investments? Whatever the kingdom needs to prosper, provide it. I will repeat, everything the kingdom needs to prosper, provide it. Let me tell you, I built my first house in Port Harcourt. How did I build it? I built it because the first Redeemed Church in Port Harcourt is called King's Palace. Ask those who know about the place. It's now a regional headquarters. When we were building that place, I committed my salaries, my allowances. I even went to the pastor in charge and said, Pastor, the parish pastor that time, who, as God will have it, is my regional pastor today. You can go and ask him, Pastor Pande. Pastor Pande was my parish pastor in Port Harcourt. I didn't know that 20 years after, he will be my regional pastor in Lagos. we were building that church. I put all my investments in it. That was over almost 30 years ago. When the day GO came to dedicate that church, somebody gave me a big amount of money, an unbeliever. He said, use it to buy a land. The day GO declared the church, I built that house in less than 6 months. And monies were coming from people I never imagined. My friends were calling me and said, I hear you are building a house. You didn't tell me. Come and take money. They were giving me money. And the day I built that house and dedicated it, I was transferred to Lagos. That was the same house I told you that I sold when I lost a job. When I arrived in Lagos, I had a dream while I was living in the Lewe compound. And God showed me a vision of a house. And he said to me, my son, because of what you did for me in Port Harcourt, this is the second house I will give you in Lagos. Because of what you did for me in Port Harcourt. I saw the house. It wasn't up to 1 month. I visited a pastor friend of mine living in Lekki. He was living in an estate. And I loved the estate. I said, Pastor, I want to live here. I love this place. He said, if I get a house here, I will call you. When he got the house was going for 6.5 million. This was 1999. So that you don't think that the house today is worth over 100 million. So, but it was 6.5 million naira at that time. And my account, I had only 6,000 naira. And I said, Pastor, I don't have that money. But I like the house. But when I saw the house, it was exactly the house I saw in the vision. And that was how I went to my bank where I was working. I applied for a mortgage loan, even though there was embargo and mortgage loan. Two days after, the MD of the bank wrote a memo to all staff, lifted the embargo, approved my mortgage loan. A friend of mine who is a pastor in Deeper Life, I helped him to get a house in that estate. He too bought a house. Today we are neighbors. After two of us bought, nearly after 2 months, the MD wrote a memo bringing back the embargo. Kingdom investments, kingdom investments, kingdom investments. I gave them a 5 kVA generator in my church in Port Harcourt when I was living in Port Harcourt. 5 kVA. That's all I had. And I gave it to the church. When I arrived in Lagos, all the mosquitoes in this country were meeting in railway compound. I'm sure they see me there. They finished me and my children. My wife kept asking me, he said, I thought you said God told you to give us generator in Port Harcourt. So why are we suffering here? See, every day mosquito, malaria, everyone. But after nearly 6 months, the first gift I got in Lagos was a 27 kVA generator. Can I tell you something? That was, I came to Lagos. I came back to Lagos. Some of you don't know I'm part of, I got born again in Freedom Hall. So I was part of Papa family from beginning. Now I'm in VI Ikoyi family. But I got born again under Tony Rapo in Papa family in the 90s, early 90s. So when I arrived Lagos, I can tell you, the first gift I got was the 27 kVA generator. And since year 2000, it's now 21 years, I have never bought one generator. And I've used up to 7 generators. And can I tell you something that will amaze you? I went to one church in Apapa about 5 years ago to preach. When I was preaching, I told them that, look, go and look at according to the book of Mark chapter 10, 29 and 30, that God said that he will give 100-fold for whatever we give for the kingdom. 100-fold, land, building, whatever. I said to them that since I sold my generator in Port Harcourt, I have gotten 7 generators in Lagos. So I said to them, God is owing me 93 generators because you said 100-fold. Do you know what will amaze you? That day I got home, ate my lunch. After preaching, I slept off. While I was sleeping, God spoke to me audibly. He called my name. He said, Simon, I heard what you said in Apapa. You said I'm owing you 93 generators. I just have only one question to ask you. How many kVA is the one you gave me in Port Harcourt? I said, Mogboyo, when I woke up. He said, how many kVA is the one you have been getting in Lagos? So you use it. How can you say I'm owing you 93 generators? So you gave 5 kVA in. I'm an accountant, yet I did not even calculate it. I was calculating a number of units of generators. What am I telling you? Anytime God has a need, he wants to provide that need for somebody. I will repeat. I'm talking to pastors now. Anytime God has a need, he wants to give that to somebody. Gio just told us early this year, the focus is on rural missions, church planting, 20,000 churches. How many have you invested in? If you want God to give you houses, build churches for God. If you want God to give you generator, give him generator. Want God to give you cars, invest in car. Anytime a church says we need to buy a church bus, God wants to give people cars. I'm telling you, practical Christianity. Go and read that scripture, Mark chapter 10, 29 and 30. What anything any man will lose, forfeit for the kingdom, you will get it back. You sew a piece of cloth, you will get many clothes. It is time for us to get into kingdom investments. When I lost my job, I kept reminding God about the churches I planted for him. Because when I worked in the north, I planted churches. In Port Harcourt, I planted churches. I believe in church planting. And believe you me, God always rewards. Some of the churches that I opened in Kano, which were tiny, small churches, they are now, some of them are provincial headquarters, some of them are zonal headquarters. Every prayer there, I will get part of the blessing. Try to meet the need of God. As we complete this talk, there's something called entrepreneurship. If you want to set up your business, run your business, ensure that it goes well, ensure that it has bad weather you can survive, it's a different talk. Maybe one day we'll talk about it. But to save time, the only thing I can share with you on it is that don't do a business for which you don't have passion for. Whatever you don't like, don't do it. Do a business for which, even if you are not being paid, you will be doing it. I love talking business. That's why I used to be a teacher in primary school at the age of 17 before I went to university. That's how I saved money to even go to university in the first place. But my parents were poor. And I love to teach. As a banker, I was teaching bankers. When I was working in a bank and I was doing it free of charge. When I lost my job, it became my source of income. So do what you have passion for. I thought about owning buses. So if your passion is hair, you love fashion, set up fashion business. If your passion is to sell shoes, whatever you have passion for, do it. But make sure that thing can solve somebody's problem. Make sure it can be extended beyond you, and make sure that it is profitable, that they can make money out of it. As we round up, there is something I call non-financial issues that affect our finances. Non-financial issues. What are they? Our character, our attitude, our their finance, everything we are doing. I have a chapter in that book called Hello CEO. It's talking about taking responsibility. Please stop blaming government for what you're passing through. Stop blaming the economy. Stop blaming Lagos State. You know why? All of us were pastors. I have been dedicating houses even during this lockdown, during the pandemic. People are dedicating cars. People are building houses, and you are talking about pandemic. So stop blaming government. Even when things are tough, people are prospering. Take responsibility for what happens to you. Don't blame anybody. And make sure you do retirement planning. Retirement planning. Make sure you do prepare for tomorrow. Retirement planning. Retirement plan. Next slide. Retirement planning. Make sure you plan for your future. Will I ever retire? Should I retire at all? Yes, one day you will retire, whether you like it or not. Even if you don't want to retire, nature will tell you that your bones are no longer as strong as they used to be. So you need to plan for your retirement. Again, we can talk about this one time later in the future, how to be able to plan for retirement, what you need to put in place, but you need to prepare. And many people in Nigeria don't do retirement planning. They are always taken by surprise. And when they say, I'm just getting to 70. Oh, just 55 now, as if they didn't know. When I was a young man, when I went to training in New York, in my early 20s. And one of the things that shocked me was that fresh graduates, they were teaching people how to prepare for retirement. The first day they resumed work, they were in their 20s. White men prepare for retirement from the day they start work. Nigerians prepare for retirement 2 days to retirement. It was as if they never knew it will come. Prepare for your future. Prepare for your children. And take decisions that you will not regret. If you know God has not blessed you yet with children, don't adopt a child when you are 65 years old. You cannot adopt a child when you are 60 years old. If you know God has not blessed you with a child, if you want to adopt a child when you are 40, when you are 35. Don't start life when you should be ending it. There are decisions that we take that we don't, these things all affect our finances at the end of it all. Okay, if you are not yet married, be careful when you are choosing a life partner. Because if during courtship your wife is wasting money or your husband is wasting money, she's not going to change after marriage. She will show you a sign very early. Make sure you get a partner who will jointly mold finances with you. Okay, so everything you do, just know that all those things that you do, they will affect your life, your finances, your character. The friends you keep will affect your finances, because if they are spendthrifts, they will carry you to be spending money every day. People who are your friends, your relatives, everything about you, how you dress can determine your finances. So make sure you control the people you relate with, how you dress, where you go, where you eat food. I have given you illustrations about them before. Transportation, you are the one who chooses those things. They affect your financial level. I want you to know, by way of what I call backward planning, which is take a look at your life. Ask yourself, since this man has been talking, where have I made a mistake? We've all made mistakes. Review your life. Ask yourself, what have I done? Where have I made mistakes? Okay, what have I? But I'm asking you, consider your education. What course? What did you choose? Consider your marriage. Where did you make a mistake? You cannot reverse your marriage. We all know that we are God's children, but you can mend it. You can get counselors to make the erring party to get better. You can pray about it. But you can correct your education if you read the wrong thing. Career, you can correct. Where you choose to live, your relationship, your investment decisions, your relationship with God, which is the most important, you can mend it. Many people are having leaking pockets because they have made disastrous decisions in holiness. If you are not holy, you cannot prosper. Hear me. If you are an adulterer, you cannot prosper. Mark my word. If you are an adulterer, if you steal church money, you cannot be rich. The church is not a place where they come and collect money. The church is a place where they invest money. It's an investment outlet. Then you go and pick your harvest outside the church. If you go to church, you are an usher or minister or pastor, you steal money, you are guaranteed to be poor. If you apply all these principles that I gave you, it will not work for you. You know why? Because according to Romans 8:31, what shall we say then? If God be for us, who can be against us? As Gio has taught us, the person that is against you is yourself. If you live in sin, God will not prosper you. God prospers those who are living holy. Make sure that you make up with God. He will never prosper you if you are living in sin. Don't commit adultery and hope to be rich. It's simple. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 8. We all know it. We are pastors. Ecclesiastes 10:8. He said, if the hedge is broken, the serpent will bite. If the hedge is not broken, the serpent will not bite. That was why if you look at the book of Job, Job said, the devil said to Job, to God, that God, you have built a hedge around him and around all he has. Because of verse 1 of that Job, which said that the man was an upright man who eschewed evil. God builds a hedge around us when we are holy and around what we have. As the Yoruba say, if there's no crack on the wall, the lizard will not enter. If there's no crack on the wall, the lizard will not enter. Is there a crack in your life? Only sin can produce the crack. If you are living in holiness and you work hard, remember the HHH, holiness, hard work, humility. God is empowered. God is obligated to prosper you. If you make kingdom investments and you pay your tithe and you apply these principles. I want to encourage you, everything you have learned. It may be only one thing that I have said today that has touched you. Write it down. That may be all God wants you to hear of all I have said. But as you write it down, don't feel guilty about the mistakes you have made. Except you have committed sin, you have to have godly repentance, as the Bible says. But if it is investment errors, don't feel guilty. Correct them. Right? No regrets. But if you and the one you have done well, celebrate them, enlarge them, do more of it. But if you have lived in sin, please stay away from sin. Repent, reconcile with God. God will only prosper you when you are his friend. He will not prosper his enemies. God's principles cannot change. I want to let you know that what I have shared with you is not applicable to everybody in total. Some may apply to others, some may apply to you. It is not one jacket fits all. My advice is keep seeking financial knowledge. Make sure you implement the things you have learned today. Don't just say, hey, that pastor was wonderful. I enjoyed it. Don't clap for me. I don't need your clap. Don't even celebrate me. I don't need your celebration. You know why? I promise you that I want to get you angry. And that what I want to do is to take decisions that will change your life. If you don't take decisions today and implement them, then I have not succeeded. So don't clap for me. Just go and put them into practice. And when you do, then there will be results. Keep reviewing and reviewing what you have going to do, redefining them. Financial freedom is a process. It is not a destination. Okay? You keep on working on it until you get to where you say you are okay. Be determined. Yes, the future is bright. And I encourage you, what you have learned today, share it with your children. Give a copy of my book to your children. Many of the mistakes that you made when you were young, you don't want your children to make them. And when I'm referring to children, I mean both your spiritual children and your biological children. Don't let them make the mistakes. You can still correct them. But in conclusion, I want to tell you, please, financial principles, spiritual principles, they work hand in hand. Don't pick one at the expense of the other. If you take the two together as children of God, you are going to prosper. You are going to make it. And God is going to empower you. Don't let the unbelievers work harder than us. We should be working harder than them. Let's not be lazy. And let's apply the same principles that they apply. But add the Christian principles that they don't have. And that will make us more prosperous than them. And that will make us financially independent. On this note, I just want to thank you for listening to me. And I want to thank Pastor Bola for giving me a chance to share, talk with you, and all of you for listening to me. And I pray that you will practice what you have learned. And I pray that God will make us financially independent. Thank you so much, and God bless you.